Alright, hello, my wonderful students. This is the part 4 of the second foldable, and this is we're finding each real root. So the only thing difference between these here is that these already have the square roots in them, and the other ones we had numbers and we had to find the real roots for them. This it makes it a similar process, but the thing that's different is because this is given to us here. Anything that has an even square root can only have one possible real root, and it has to be positive. So it has to be the absolute value of this number that's here. So once again, so I know that 144 is actually 12 times 12, so I can rewrite this as usually would be equal to plus or minus 12, but since this is already given to us, it's actually going to be the absolute value of plus or minus 12, which is going to be equal to 12. So 12 is going to be our only real root. So once again, so like we did on the other one, so let me go back to the other one so you can see. Back over here, when we were doing these ones over here, like for example this one here, well, this is a cube root. Let me see if I can find a square one. 400 up here. So this one we were able to see that it's actually 20 squared and negative 20 squared. So the two real roots were 20 and negative 20, but this was given to us as a number. It doesn't have the radical or the square root on it, so we can't say that it's only the positive version. When they give it to you as the square root already, then we're only going to have the absolute value of the number inside, which is a. So the way they actually write it is actually the square root of a absolute value squared, right? Because that's what this is going to be. This is actually on your notes. I think they use n here and they use n here as well. So it works out like that. Okay? Alright, so it's our only real square root. I already have root there. And so 12 is our only real square root. Okay, so we'll go to the next one. Next one we have is here, which is negative square root of 25. Similar to this here, we can only have a positive real root. So I know that this is the square root of, the negative square root of 5 times 5. And since the negative's on the outside, it's okay. Remember, if it's on the inside, we have an imaginary solution, so we wouldn't have any real roots, we would have an imaginary root. So this here ends up being that our square root, the negative square root of 5 squared, and we know that these reduce, so we're left with our real root of 5. But we got to carry the negative over, because it is the absolute value of 5, right? But the absolute value is 5, with the negative in front would give us our negative 5. So negative 5 is our, oops, oh, I scribbled it out, I have an eraser. Our only real square root. I almost forgot to spell square for a second. Alright, so now we're going to get to this one here. We have our cube root of negative 27. See, normally if we had a square, this would not be true because we have our negative here, and we can't, that would be with an I. But with a cube root, that's okay, because I know this is negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. Because a negative times a negative would be a positive, and then times another negative would be the negative that we have here. So this is still inside here. So to the cube root, so this is going to be equal, just like we did up there, would be equal to the cube root. You got to put a 3 over there to show it's a cube root of negative 3 cubed. So then we see here, just like we had the squares, now the cubes would reduce, giving us our real root of negative 3. So this would be, so negative 3 is our only real cube root of the cube root of negative 27. Okay? Alright, let's go ahead and move on to the last one. And I'll box all these up as soon as I'm done. I'll box them up with, I brought different colors today, so I'm going to box each one a different color. I wanted to get each one of these done first. And I wanted to explain, this is really important that we use the absolute value for here. So we only have a positive root when the square root is given. But if it was just given as find the real root of just 144, that's different. Then it's something we have to look for. But if it's given to us, then we have to show the absolute value version. Okay? Similar here, we have the square root again. But this is the square root of a negative 0.01. So luckily for us, we have this negative here. Well, I guess, I don't know if it's luckily, but this negative here, and we can't take the square root of that without having an imaginary number. So that means that there is, so therefore, the square root of negative 0.01, has no real roots. Alright, like I said, I'm going to grab my colors. So green, we'll go ahead and box the first one. Add this square in there. And some purple, we'll box the second one. Some wonderful red to box the third one. And we'll finish off with our pink. Box the last one. I guess these colors kind of looks very similar. Alright, so that's the last part of Foldable 2.